Friday Night Racing.
On Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie.
And a very good afternoon to you. It is Friday afternoon. It's just after 3 o'clock. You're very welcome along to this week's edition of Friday Night Racing. Every Friday afternoon on OTB's social channels. That's the app, that's YouTube, that's Facebook, that's Periscope. And of course on OTB Sports Radio we broadcast live. And then of course we also rebroadcast on Friday evenings from 8 on News Talk. Johnny Ward, how are you?
Hello, Ger. How are you?
How's the Christmas spirit treating you?
Grand. First day back where I guess restaurants and pubs are kind of all open again. So exciting times in Dublin. It's been a long time for a city that's kind of basically been a ghost town for so long. But could be a bit of fun tonight. The weather is not great, Ger. It has to be said. It's pretty miserable. Not
playing ball at all. This is Friday Night Racing here on Off the Ball. Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit hri.ie or follow the Twitter account at HRI Racing for all the details. And you can use the hashtag every racing moment. Our guest this week is Emma Twomey. Emma, good afternoon to you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, no worries. You've got a really interesting story that we're kind of trying to get to know you a little bit better on the show today. I understand that you're somebody who's gone around the world and tried to build up your skill set that way to kind of see how they do things in other places, in particular Australia. Is that right?
Yeah, so I was in Oz there about a year and a half ago, like you said, travelling around and worked a bit with horses and got a feel for how they did things over there.
Was that always your intention when you were coming up, to use racing as a way to see the world, but also to see what they do in other parts of the world to improve your own skills as a jockey?
Yeah, I suppose it's horses can take you everywhere. I was always told that growing up, that you can get a job anywhere in the world with horses, and I'd always wanted to travel, so it was something I was able to get out of my system and work with horses anywhere I was.
And is a horse the same? Is everything? Did you learn different processes and different ways of thinking?
Yeah, they definitely have a different way of doing things over in Oz. Just when you're riding out, I suppose you're primarily hired just to ride out. There's a job for everyone over there. There's somebody there whose job is to saddle, someone there whose job is to take the horse off you when it's ridden, and yeah, you just ride out.
And did you get to understand what the thinking behind that is? Is it like just to keep more people in jobs, or is that actually a better way of doing things? What was your take on that?
I suppose it is a way to keep people in jobs, but as well, they have such a high volume of horses there that you were getting through so many more lots in a morning, so less people riding out, more horses, and yeah.
Right, very good. Look, the reason obviously we're talking to you this week is you had a big success on Kavanagh's Corner at Fairyhouse on Saturday for Henry de Bromhead. Can you take us back to the start of the race and your own thinking heading into the race? Did you feel like you had a chance of victory, or was it a bit of a surprise to you even how well the horse was going?
Well, we were hoping for a good run. He was in great form at home. I had ridden him on the Friday morning and we'd schooled up over the fences, and he was in really good form, really fresh. So going there, I was hoping to get a good run. I was really hoping just to get a great spin around because it was my first time riding over the fences on the track. But yeah, he travelled so well. He got into such a great rhythm jumping. Landing over the back of the third last, I was thinking I had a bit of a chance.
We did talk to Henry obviously last week, Emma. Did this horse kind of conform with the Henry de Bromhead's kind of normal service of just jumping well and doing his job well?
Yeah, like Henry's renowned for his jumpers, and they do so much work jumping at home. It really stands to them, and yeah, he got into such a great rhythm that he was just a joy to ride.
A race like that as well, you're taking on, obviously, if you look at the calibre of riders in the race, Anya O'Connor would have ridden, a heavily backed favourite who was third in the race. Lisa O'Neill was second. Jodie Townend was fifth. Liz Lawler as well. How much of a privilege is it for you, considering you hadn't ridden over fences before, to be taking on such names and beating them?
Yeah, they're like those ladies' races are so competitive now. But in fairness to the girls, they're so good. They make you feel very welcome and very comfortable in the weigh room, and yeah, it was a great thrill to be riding beside them.
Yeah, what do you think in terms of the race itself? It was like it probably wasn't the worst race in the world, considering Envoy Piergi was third, and he was very well backed. And for your horse to be rising 12 in the next month, it was a hell of a performance.
Yeah, no, it really was. He's so gutsy. I thought it was a very competitive race, especially with Anya's horse. He was very, very heavily backed. But yeah, like, he put in a great run to finish fourth back with Daniel Holden aboard, and yeah, he was in such good form, and I knew he'd come on from that run. Yeah, he was brilliant.
Just the thrill of that, like, because the chance of you going out in your first race over fences, the horse was sent off 14-1. Did it dawn on you, like, when you woke up the next morning, did you just have this smile on your face? Wow, that actually happened.
Yeah, it was very funny actually. Rachel sent me a text the next morning saying exactly that. I had a stupid grin on my face almost. Just couldn't believe it really. That it was a relief more than anything, to be quite honest, because you just want to get that first winner and get it on the board to get the ball rolling. So yeah, I was delighted.
And just as well, I suppose it's a 2 mile 5 handicap chase. So that's quite a long time. Like, what was the thrill like? Because you're biding your time in a horse. You're obviously getting him jumping. The race itself, 5 minutes 45 seconds it lasted. So how much of that, like nearly 6 minutes, do you think, yeah, this could happen? And then was it like, wow, I've actually done this?
To be honest, it only really hit me jumping the back of the fourth last. It was only then it dawned on me that I might have a bit of a chance here. And Henry had said to me before I headed out to take my time and don't be in a rush to hit the front. So I was really just sitting for as long as I could before I had to ask him for his full effort.
And that bit where you actually asked the horse for its full effort and there's stuff left, that must be quite thrilling.
It was great. It was when I landed and Lisa was beside me, I wasn't sure if I was going to hold on, but then he started pulling away so well at the end. It was then it dawned on me, and it was relief as well as joy.
So, Emma, a big win like this, what does it actually do for you in terms of the knock-on confidence? Like, the next time you go out, it's not something that you're thinking of, oh, you've got to get this first win. It's like, it should see you through to that next stage of your career where you start kind of demanding more of yourself and expecting more, and that in itself is also quite a sweet spot to be in.
That's it, yeah. It hopefully now it gets my name out there and it gets the ball rolling, and it might give me a chance to get more experience, because I'm very much a novice and I'm very much at the start of my career. I have a lot of experience to get and a lot to learn, so hopefully this might open a few doors for me and give me a few more opportunities. So
you're from Waterford, right? Have you always had a connection with the Bromhead's operation, or is that a recent enough thing? How did that all come about?
So I originally was hunting. Hunting was my thing, and always had it in my head that I'd like to do something with racehorses. I thought riding would be a hobby more than a career, so I finished school. I started riding out for a man called Dermot Ryan. He's based in Kilmac, has pointers, and finished school and didn't really know what to do with myself, so I went to race, learned a lot there, and when I finished race I gave Henry a call, and that was the start of it about 5.5 years ago. And
so you've been there ever since?
Yeah, bar going travelling for a little bit, I've always found my way back to the Bromheads. Right.
And so what in terms of your future as a jockey, that's the first one over hurdles, do you want to be like as far as I understand, when you take out your licence, did you take out both a flat and a jumps licence?
I did, yeah. Just solely because my weight is I'm only about 9 stone myself, so I can do the bottom weight and jumps, and then I can still ride a few of them on the flat, and it just gives me more options and more chances to get that experience.
So
I have to say, Jared, just watching back the race there, it's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable to think that she hadn't ridden over fences before. Emma, I don't know, was it from your hunting days or your Australian days or what days, but you certainly you didn't look at all out of place for someone who was actually just riding for the first time over fences. Even the way you didn't panic when you kind of came up sides at the last. Like, were you as confident in the race as you looked?
Probably not, no. But I'd known Henry had said to take my time, so it was the one thing I didn't want to do was panic and blow my chances by rushing to the front too soon. In fairness to Henry, he's so good. He gives you every chance at home, school, and to get us to perfect your seat, I suppose, as much as possible.
Yeah, I suppose to extrapolate on what Ger was saying there, he doesn't have that many bumper horses. Obviously, he spoke about this himself last week. He's not really big into bumpers, which obviously inhibits the chance for an amateur to have an awful lot of rides. But what are your prospects, or what are your hopes? Because you don't need to look very far when you're riding out at Henry's to see a woman who could, be something of an icon really for you in terms of what you can do in this game, not only as an amateur but as a professional in Rachel Blackmore, obviously. Yeah,
I'm very lucky where I am. Rachel's been very good to me. She's helped me in so much. I'm in a great place with Henry. We've got great horses. There's as good an opportunity there as anywhere else.
Yeah, that's like. Would you? What are your plans for the year in terms of you've gotten your name out there? I'm sure there are already probably trainers who've looked at that and said, yeah, I wouldn't mind having her on my horse. Or what's your plan for the year? And are you thinking just for, I suppose, the rest of the 2020? Are you thinking of the season ahead?
We're definitely thinking of the season ahead. I know everyone says when they get a winner that they want another one, but it really is true. You do just want another one and to keep it going. And I just love to get as much experience as I can now and really work on my seat and my racing position and all that.
Yeah, and would you consider potentially become professional down the line?
Well, I have the conditional license, so I'm serious about giving it a go. Definitely. You wouldn't be in the game otherwise. It is very competitive, but like I said, I'm very lucky to be in Henry's, and I given the opportunity to give it a go.
Well, say if Rachel hadn't done what she had done, would you have the confidence of giving it a go that you have now? Has she been kind of that person to actually give female jockeys, that hope that this is actually doable? Because when it's not as if, even when Rachel was an amateur, she was really just a journeywoman, so to speak. She wasn't necessarily going anywhere, and look at her now.
Yeah, she's definitely done amazing things in it. The likes of herself and Katie and Nina really removed any stigma around ladies getting their licenses and pursuing the career as a jockey. They definitely helped in that sense, but I've never really felt that I've been discriminated or anything for being a lady rider, so to speak. And yeah, I don't feel like there is any stigma there anymore about it.
And are you definitely wedded to being a national hunt jockey as opposed to a flat jockey now, or do you actually manage to keep that door open?
No, I do manage to pick up a few spins on the flat when I can do the weight. I enjoy riding on the flat, but my heart's always been with the jumpers. Right,
and so that's where the main focus of your career is going to be now over the next couple of years.
Yeah, hopefully.
And how do you actually go from being somebody who picks up rides with on Henry's horses to being somebody who can actually work for other trainers as well? Is it a relatively straightforward? Is it making sure you get a good agent? How does that work?
Well, I've recently gotten an agent. I've gone with Gary Cribben. So I'm hoping that will give me more options as well. It always helps to have somebody on your side to help get your name out there. But it really is like people seeing you riding and seeing your name down on the paper, and hopefully it just encourages them to want to put you on board.
Yeah, that's great. And Henry was obviously effusive in his praise afterwards, said you were a big part of his plans. into the future as well. So do you have anything automatic in the next couple of weeks that is coming up? Obviously, Christmas is unbelievably busy from a National Hunt perspective. Do you have any rides booked yet?
Nothing at the moment. I know there's a ladies' race in Tremor next Thursday. I'd be hoping to pick something up in that. And yeah, like you said, there's so much racing over Christmas. I'm hoping there might be a few spins there.
It's a beautiful thing, Ger, actually, that the St. Stephen's Day / Boxing Day, whatever you want to call it, has 3 Irish meetings on, and it does give those jockeys that wouldn't necessarily have a lot of rides a really good chance of a kind of a somewhat high-profile winner as well.
Yeah, look, it's great talking to you. Congratulations on the success. It's a brilliant start, and clearly that's all it is. It's just the start of what hopefully is going to be a very long story as well. Again, congratulations. Thanks a million for joining us on Friday Night Racing.
Thanks very much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no worries. Hopefully that helps get the name out there too. That's Emma Twomey, who, fresh from her success last weekend at that meeting in Fairyhouse. Reminder too, the HRI Awards are going to be broadcast on Racing TV on the 15th of December. The Ride of the Year award, it's going to be decided by you, the racing fans. Fran Berry has shortlisted 3 flat rides and 3 from the jumps. Voting closes this Sunday at 5 o'clock. To vote, visit hri.ie and pick your winner. Johnny, it turns out when somebody else picks horses for you or gives you like a short list, you're quite good at it. It says here you had a trifecta last weekend.
Yeah, well, I suppose they were all kind of short enough prices, but it was a strange enough day at Fairyhouse because essentially you had 3 odds-on favourites in the. I think 4 odds-on favourites in the graded races and 3 odds-on favourites in the grade ones. And it was a question of, I suppose, would they live up to their billing really? And they pretty much did. So I would have had Ballyadam, Honeysuckle, and the great Envoy Alain, who just looks. Now, maybe he didn't beat an awful lot or whatever. He just looks so flawless in everything he does. But yeah, it was good. I'm going strong, Ger, but I suppose they only did what was expected of them, really.
Okay, so this weekend I've got Min on my side. You've got Chacun Pour Soi in the John Durkin, and you also have a chance with the Big Getaway due to run tomorrow at Navan. Yeah,
he's very exciting, this horse. The Big Getaway and the Big Breakaway, they're obviously quite similar names, and there would have been high hopes for both of them this season. Now the Big Breakaway was actually turned over at I think 1-5 earlier on. He was very disappointing actually, so his bubble is, I wouldn't say his bubble is burst, but his reputation is dented a bit, even though he dropped in trip. But this is a gorgeous horse. I mean, Willie Mullins unveiled Monkfish over fences last Saturday. He was a pleasure to watch when you've spent so much of the summer maybe looking at flat racing and all that, and it's great, but when you do get a reminder of the beauty and the athleticism of these horses, especially when you're doing it like Emma first time. The way he jumped Monkfish was brilliant, but the Big Getaway, I think he's just a really leggy horse. He looks like he's crying out for fences. He ran a blinder at Cheltenham last year, and he's one of the features of what is it's just a really, really good weekend's race, and that's just a beginner's chase tomorrow. But like the 2 cards on Sunday, and the John Durkin is off the charts, the quality of it this year. So really, really good racing.
What are you looking for from something like the John Durkin? Are you picking individual horses there to follow later on, or is it just in and of itself, when you see these go up against each other, what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's the latter really. I mean, it's just literally, I was just going through the card, the actual race earlier, and it was just every single horse were like, yeah, he wouldn't be out of place winning this race. Allaho, you remember, was worn down by Champ in that incredible renewal of what was the RSA Chase last year with Manella Indo second, and we spoke about him last week. Manella Indo obviously has been brilliant since. He's won both his starts without really turning a hair. Battle over Doyen, who'd be my fancy in the race each way. He was brilliant on his return at Down Royal. Fantastic jumper. Absolutely battered Sam Crow, who reopposes. Chris's Dream would have run on the same card in a different race Down Royal, as Keith Donoghue would have recalled when we had him on recently. He got up on the Storyteller by a neck, but Chris Dream was only denied for last week's guest, Henry de Bromhead. Lerichberg, what an intriguing runner he is. He would have been favoured for the Arkle in 2019, which seems about 2 decades ago at this stage. Hasn't been seen for 673 days, but looked very, very polished. and was just touched off by Delta work at Fairyhouse over this trip the last time he tried it. Melon, of course, it was touched off by Sam Crow in the JLT at Cheltenham as I think that was the Thursday of Cheltenham. It was one of the strangest races I've ever watched, because it was like, yeah, that Cheltenham last year was just the whole experience of what was going on, you know, outside us. It was a strange sort of atmosphere of that race, but what a race it was. Obviously, Sam Crow. Min, who's probably going to be favourite, has a bit of previous in this race. Last seen bit St Calvados at Cheltenham in March at the aforementioned Cheltenham, and then finally Tornado Flyer, who's a very good horse in his own right, would have been a very good novice hurdler in his day, and Brian Cooper riding him for Willie Mullins, which is another interest. It's just a fantastic race, and I think there's reason to think that Min could be vulnerable. I think it's really deep. Chris's Dream obviously was, you know, he was just touched off. I think he's very trip versatile. Allaho, I think, will definitely benefit from coming back to this trip. I thought they were wrong running the RSA Chase, and I was probably right, because he didn't get up the hill. That's not to say he would have won the JLT, but I think this trip will suit him better. It's a brilliant race, and it's something to savour, not to mind the hilly way, obviously, at Cork, in which we see Shack and Poursois as well.
Okay, so that's a small field, really, but it's unbelievably deep in terms of the quality of horses. Is a defeat at this stage of the year, does that automatically have bad portents for how the horse is going to do for the rest of the year in company like this? Or can you have horses who get beaten on Sunday in this race and then go on to have a great year?
Well, 7 of them have to get beaten. So, you know, Min has won this the last 2 years. He was 8-11 and even money. But would it be a disaster if he were beaten? Arguably not. He's having his first run back. And he's taken on some race fit rivals in the like of Sam Crow and Chris's Dream, and obviously a Battle Over Doyen. If you look at Min's rating, he's rated 169, which kind of entitles him to win, but he's taken on sophomore chasers, what I would call here, in their second season, who have that. They're kind of like, if you're looking for a David Clifford who's just made the step up from minor. I'm not sure there's a David Clifford in this lineup, but there are some very good horses. And if Sam Crow had jumped, was it the third last better, he could have been banging there down Royal. So, as I said, 7 of them have to lose. But, you know, this is, you know, Kevin Blake had a great article about recently on At the Race, is just about the plethora of graded races in Ireland, and like there's a 3-runner graded race at Navan tomorrow, which is good in terms of quality, but you know, these 3-runner graded races, you know, they're not ideal really, but this race is proper quality, and everyone has a chance.
Okay, so who did you say is your shout each way?
I'm going with Battle Over Doyen. He beat Easy Game by 6 lengths at Down Royal. Now, Easy Game wouldn't be winning this. There's no doubt about that. And we do remember Battle Over Doyen, how he travelled behind Faugheen and how he travelled behind Champ in the RSA Chase and found absolutely zilch on either occasion. He was wearing a tongue tie again on his reappearance, but I don't know if it were the trip, but he really did look like the horse that he promised to be. He's a gorgeous, fine specimen. And I like him each way, but would I be surprised if he were fourth? Absolutely not.
Yeah, okay. So that is on Sunday afternoon at Punchestown. That it seems like a lot of these. Is this their last race before the big Christmas festival? Do we expect a lot of these to re-emerge, or is this a race that some horses? Is this a weekend where some horses are actually going to avoid Christmas and not emerge back probably until mid-Jan in preparation for again March and then later April at Punchestown?
I don't like. What do we know? So today is this is the 6th of December. Yeah, like it's not. You're having Willie Mullins would be a big believer in 3 weeks between his races. Now you can obviously break the rules on that, but like Leopardstown is Leopardstown. Also, I think maybe to some extent
you'd expect these all to be at Leopardstown at Christmas.
There's not like maybe 1 or 2 of them could think about the King George. For example, if Allaho were to win. Well, you know, Willie's obviously sending his Gold Cup winner to Tremor, so he'd probably try to keep these horses apart. 1 or 2 of them could possibly end up in the King George if they're stepping up 3 miles, but Leopardstown will be on the ticket. And, you know, prize money is down this year as well. You kind of have to make the most of the opportunities that are there. But it's I wouldn't say there's definitely enough of a gap. It'd be very interesting to see how Laurishberg runs, because he's still only 7, and it'll be interesting to see if the fire still burns there. He shouldn't be forgotten about. And just when we talk a good bit about the strategy of actually trying to find a winning pathway for your horse until eventually, you know, you get them fully fit for the point for the absolutely huge prizes. But is the fact that we're seeing these 3 and 4 runner races,
does that suggest that actually the big horses are going to have to go up against each other more often than they might have done if everything was normal?
To be honest, I think we've kind of come back to normality now in terms of, in fairness to HRI, I think it's the way it dealt with the race program in terms of like a quarter of your season being literally wiped out. It actually did come up with a reasonable plan, but that affected the flat a lot more than National Hunt. So it'll probably, the National Hunt season is kind of going to be able to seamlessly go on, and who knows, even by Cheltenham we might well have crowds again if the vaccines go well and all that. So we might have some sort of normality, but in terms of the actual fields, like, they will be able to race as normal. But like it has been said, Ger, you know, what's more likely at Cheltenham, right? A 5-day festival in 5 years' time, or a 3-day festival? Absolutely a 5-day festival. And I would absolutely hate if that happened, because I think they have diluted the quality. And bringing in races like, say, the JLT means that we won't get to see Envoy Allen take on Shishkin probably at Cheltenham when we should, in the Arkle or something like that. So I definitely think less is more. But in terms of the Irish competitiveness, we should have a very good season. It's just the likes of that challenge, you know, of those two taking each other on, bringing in another Amir's Chase at Cheltenham, which I think is completely superfluous. But less is more for me, to be honest.
All right, well, I'm on side of Min, and you have Chacun Poursois in the John Durkin at Punchestown on Sunday. This is obviously because we're taking...
Chacun Poursois is in the Hilly Way. He's running in Cork.
Sorry, in the Hilly Way.
Yeah, so although I suspect he might well win this if he ran it. But yeah, he's going to be very exciting. Of course, people will recall that he was, you know, the Arkle was, or sorry, the Queen Mother was set up to be this really good race last year, and he was scratched right at the end, and then the race kind of fell apart, and he probably would have won, but he wasn't seen. If you were on him anti-post, it was the most sickening thing ever. He looked like he had a great chance, and he was pulled out that morning. I can't remember what was wrong with him, but he's back now anyway. All
right, this is because we're taking part in the Totes 10 to follow, trying to win a share of the 150,000 guaranteed prize pool for the Irish Injured Jockeys Fund. Visit tote.ie to get the Tote guarantee on all Irish and UK racing, and you can win prizes as we go along there. So that is this week's edition of Friday Night Racing. Unless there's anything else you want to get off your chest, Johnny?
No, that's about it. Enjoy the racing, and yeah, it's going to be a cracker, really. We've just it's great to see all these proper horses, and just looking at the weather, it's going to be proper winter conditions as well. But yeah, it seems like we're gradually getting back to normality, and I think sooner or later we'll have people going racing again as well. Yeah,
and we might even get you back in studio one of these days too.
That'd be lovely. I have to say, working from home, I'm sure a lot of people out there have done an awful lot of it over the last 6 months. It's not the panacea. I've been doing it for a long time. It's actually nice to meet. It's nice to meet people, even yourself, Jeremy.
Hey, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, a little dig at the end.
I am looking forward to getting back to the office, yeah.
Yeah, well, just for that now, you can stay home for the next month. Johnny Ward, we'll see you next week. Thanks very much. Friday Night Racing, brought to you by HRI.ie. Visit the website. If you are going, obviously you're not going racing, but when you're going racing, make sure that you get all your racing news from HRI.ie, and the Twitter account is @HRI Racing. We'll see you next Friday afternoon, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 3 o'clock. Take care.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Horse Racing Ireland. Love every racing moment. Visit HRI.ie.